BlackRock just bought up thousands of homes, outbidding families with cash offers, and corporate ownership of single-family homes jumped 65% since 2019. Yahoo News reported today that corporate landlords now own 20,000 homes in just one North Carolina county. This is housing apartheid disguised as investment strategy. The BlackRock housing monopoly represents how Wall Street investment firms are systematically eliminating homeownership for middle-class families by converting entire neighborhoods into rental properties that generate perpetual income streams for wealthy investors. Remember when families could compete against other families for homes instead of billion-dollar hedge funds? Those days are being algorithmically optimized out of existence. The 65% jump shows how corporate America discovered that controlling basic human shelter creates more reliable profits than traditional stock market speculation. The Innovation Homes and Tricon residential leadership proves that housing has become a Wall Street commodity where your rent payments fund investor yacht purchases. When corporations own your neighborhood, shelter becomes a subscription service.
Financial scam losses just exploded from $55 million to $445 million in 5 years, and Suze Orman is exposing how this massive wealth transfer is actually intentional. Yahoo Finance reported today that Americans over 60 are being systematically targeted by sophisticated fraud operations. This is elder abuse industrialization disguised as random crime. The scam explosion represents how financial institutions and technology companies have created systems that make elderly Americans vulnerable to coordinated theft operations while pretending these are isolated incidents rather than systematic wealth extraction. Remember when financial fraud was rare instead of a billion-dollar industry targeting your grandparents? Those days are being algorithmically harvested. The $445 million increase shows how scammer networks have professionalized into corporate-level operations that use artificial intelligence and social engineering to identify and exploit vulnerable seniors. The Federal Trade Commission underreporting proves that actual losses are probably 10 times higher, meaning this is the largest wealth transfer from elderly Americans to criminal organizations in history. When scamming becomes systematic, crime becomes business model.
Elon Musk and Prince Andrew were just named in new Jeffrey Epstein files released by Congress, and it's exposing the billionaire network that still controls global power. BBC reported today that Musk was invited to Epstein's island in December 2014, while Prince Andrew flew with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in 2000. This is elite coordination disguised as coincidental associations. The Epstein files represent how the world's most powerful people maintain systematic relationships with a convicted sex trafficker who operated as a networking hub for billionaires, politicians, and royalty who needed each other's influence. Remember when billionaires pretended they didn't know each other instead of being exposed through pedophile flight logs? Those days are being democratically investigated. The Peter Thiel lunch plans and Steve Bannon breakfast meetings show how Epstein's network connected Silicon Valley, political operatives, and international royalty through a single coordination point. The Bill Gates tentative breakfast proves that even after Epstein's first conviction, the world's elite continued using him as their private networking service. When pedophiles become power brokers, influence becomes blackmail.
Google just begged the Supreme Court to save its Android monopoly after Epic Games destroyed them in court. And it's proving that big tech will use any legal trick to maintain control. CoinCentral reported today that Google filed an emergency request to delay reforms that would allow competing app stores and billing systems. This is monopoly preservation disguised as security concerns. Google's Supreme Court appeal represents how technology giants use legal system manipulation to maintain market dominance even after being convicted of antitrust violations by multiple courts and juries. Remember when companies had to compete instead of using Supreme Court emergency procedures to avoid competition? Those days are being legally engineered out of existence. The Epic Games victory shows how one video game company exposed Google's systematic elimination of competition through forced billing systems that extracted billions from developers and consumers. The October 2025 deadline proves that Google would rather risk Supreme Court rejection than allow actual competition in mobile app distribution. When tech monopolies appeal to Supreme Court, competition becomes constitutional crisis.
RCI Hospitality Holdings executives just got indicted for 79 crimes, including bribing tax auditors to avoid $8 million in payments. And it's exposing how strip club empires operate as organized crime. KTLA reported today that CEO Eric Langan and CFO Bradley Che face conspiracy, bribery, and criminal tax fraud charges. This is corporate racketeering disguised as entertainment business. The RCI indictment represents how adult entertainment companies operate as sophisticated criminal enterprises that use bribery, tax fraud, and accounting manipulation to extract profits while avoiding legal obligations that legitimate businesses must follow. Remember when strip clubs were just sleazy instead of being full-scale criminal operations? Those days are being federally prosecuted. The $8 million tax avoidance shows how entertainment industry executives systematically corrupt government officials to maintain profit margins that depend on breaking laws rather than providing legitimate services. The 79-count indictment proves that what appears to be a public company is actually an organized crime syndicate that uses stock market legitimacy to fund illegal operations. When strip clubs become criminal enterprises, entertainment becomes racketeering.
Corporate landlords now own 1 in 4 homes as rentals in historically low-income areas. And it's proving that Wall Street discovered poverty is more profitable than prosperity. University of North Carolina research exposed today how Innovation Homes and Tricon Residential are leading the systematic conversion of home ownership into permanent rental dependency. This is wealth extraction disguised as housing provision. The corporate rental explosion represents how investment firms realize that eliminating home ownership creates perpetual income streams where families pay rent forever instead of building equity that could threaten investor profits. Remember when low-income areas were where families could still afford to buy homes instead of being targeted for corporate colonization? Those days are being private equity optimized. The historically low-income targeting shows how Wall Street specifically attacks vulnerable communities where families have the least ability to compete against cash offers from billion-dollar investment funds. The 20,000 homes in one county proves this is systematic wealth extraction designed to eliminate the possibility of middle-class asset building. When poverty becomes profitable, housing becomes extraction.
A former financial advisor just got sentenced to 32 months in prison for stealing over $500,000 from client trust accounts. And it's exposing how the entire financial advisory industry operates as legalized theft. The Department of Justice reported today that this represents systematic client exploitation disguised as professional financial management. This is wealth extraction disguised as investment advice. The financial advisor conviction represents how the investment industry has created systems where client money becomes advisor money through sophisticated theft operations that are rarely prosecuted because they're designed to look like legitimate losses. Remember when financial advisors were supposed to protect your money instead of stealing it through legal loopholes? Those days are being professionally optimized. The $500,000 theft shows how financial professionals use client trust to fund their own lifestyles while destroying retirement savings and family financial security. The 32-month sentence proves that even when caught, financial theft is treated as white-collar crime rather than the life-destroying robbery it actually represents. When financial advisors become thieves, investment becomes theft.
Interpol just arrested 260 people in a massive African scamming network operation, and it's exposing how international fraud has become a coordinated global industry. Info Security magazine reported today that 14 African countries participated in taking down large-scale digital scamming operations. This is international crime coordination disguised as random internet fraud. The Interpol operation represents how scamming has evolved from individual criminals into sophisticated international networks that operate like multinational corporations with coordinated strategies across multiple countries and continents. Remember when internet scams were obvious Nigerian prince emails instead of professional criminal enterprises? Those days are being internationally coordinated. The 14-country involvement shows how scammer networks have created global infrastructure that rivals legitimate international businesses in terms of organization, technology, and profit generation. The 260 arrests prove that what appears to be random internet crime is actually systematic wealth extraction that requires international law enforcement coordination to combat. When scamming becomes international business, fraud becomes foreign policy.
Brunello Cucinelli is facing scrutiny amid allegations of business irregularities in Russia, and it's exposing how luxury fashion brands use geopolitical chaos to hide financial manipulation. Yahoo Finance reported today that the Italian fashion house firmly rejected short-seller allegations about Russian business activities. This is sanctions evasion disguised as luxury retail. The Cucinelli allegations represent how high-end fashion companies use international complexity and luxury brand prestige to obscure financial operations that may violate sanctions, tax laws, or accounting standards. Remember when luxury fashion was about clothes instead of being cover for international financial manipulation? Those days are being cashmere laundered. The Russia business irregularities show how fashion brands exploit geopolitical situations to create financial opacity that benefits wealthy investors while potentially violating international law. The short-seller allegations prove that even luxury fashion operates as sophisticated financial engineering designed to extract wealth through brand prestige rather than actual product value. When luxury fashion becomes financial manipulation, style becomes money laundering.
McDonald's is about to face huge scandals, according to financial analysts, and it's proving that even the world's biggest restaurant chain operates through systematic exploitation and cover-ups. MSN reported today that any company as big as McDonald's is bound to face controversy, but the fast food titan has had more than its share. This is corporate scandal preparation disguised as business analysis. The McDonald's scandal prediction represents how massive corporations operate with such systematic exploitation of workers, suppliers, and consumers that scandal becomes inevitable rather than accidental, requiring constant damage control and legal preparation. Remember when fast food companies just sold burgers instead of operating as scandal-generating machines? Those days are being supersized out of existence. The more than its share acknowledgement shows how McDonald's has created business models that depend on exploitation, environmental destruction, and worker abuse that generate profits through systematic harm. The huge scandals prediction proves that corporate analysts expect McDonald's current operations to produce major legal and public relations disasters because the company's profit model requires breaking laws and harming people. When fast food becomes scandal factory, eating becomes complicity.